3 months ago, I asked you guys if you had any questions for me. Yes, that was 3 months ago. And today I'm gonna answer them. But before that, if you're new here, hi, my name is Darla. I am a Christian independent singer-songwriter and music producer from Manila, Philippines, and I like to make music that people can use as a soundtrack to their walk with God. So the first question is about procrastination, and that comes from our friend Angelica Martinez. So Angelica asks, any tips to overcome procrastination? Because I'm a psychology major, I would ask, why are you procrastinating? Are you too hung up on doing it perfectly? If that's the case, then maybe it helps to just allow yourself to do a draft first. Or perhaps your task is a little bit too vague. I'm a professional project procrastinator, triple P, but it helps me to just know what is the next thing on this, even if I don't know what's way ahead, because tomorrow will worry about itself. So I just need to know what's the next thing I have to do. I write it on my calendar and I pray before doing it and also after I do it. And that gives me the assurance that I'm doing this by faith, because much of the work is actually God's work and not me. So just trust in God and don't lean on your own understanding, and practice that muscle of walking by faith. Oh, and one last thing. I'm so passionate about this topic. You have to know ultimately who you're working for. For me, that's God. Remember, God is a kind master, so don't beat yourself up when he's not even doing that. Now, Angelica also has another question, and that's, how do you overcome writer's block? So what I would say is just don't try to copy what the world sounds like, and just be true to how the Spirit is leading you. And usually when it comes to writer's block, it's just that perfectionistic barrier. So we want to break that by creating trash first. Yes, seriously, create trash first. When I hit a block, I tell myself not to work on any particular project and just give myself at the beginning of a week to do music for fun, whether it's making a cover, like I'm not even writing the song, or really just creating any trash at all. The idea is that you want to warm up first, just like with any athlete, they warm up, and so do you. Songwriting needs warm up. So do what you need to do to warm up into a state where you're just humble and free to create with the Spirit. What programs do you prefer for music production? So for me, it's Ableton all the way. I think it's great for beat makers, and it has so many high quality built-in plugins, so Ableton is more than enough for me. How did you learn to play instruments and produce and engineer, etc.? I first learned to play the piano when I was 8 years old, and I wasn't actually classically trained, but my teacher taught me how to read sheet music and to play pop songs. So I had the foundation of playing chords, and that really helped me to translate the skill into other instruments like guitar. That's mainly it. So I learned to produce thanks to YouTube. There are some channels that I really like, such as Recording Revolution, Beat Academy, even Read Stuff on YouTube. There's so much free stuff that you can get a lot of value from. But the key is also applying immediately what you learn. I think makes all the difference. Jada Olive asks, what are some tips to making better beats for those who are interested in music production? I would say just focus on just exercising your creativity in the beginning and just creating a lot, because I think quality increases with quality. Let go of the perfectionism. After you create something, also just let it go by maybe posting it on SoundCloud or something, just sharing it with other people. My other pro tip is also to use reference tracks. So if there's a song that you really like and you want to make something similar to that, you put that in your DAW, and so you can compare and contrast how you're doing. Just be careful not to make it too similar in terms of composition. But if you're going to use a reference track, just compare in terms of like sound quality, mixing, mastering. Try not to listen to composition too much so you can be original. Next question. What are my musical influences? My musical influences consist of Tori Kelly for wholesome R&B vibes, Sarah Bareilles for beautiful melodies. I really like Ella Fitzgerald. Actually, Paramore. I think Hayley Williams is someone that I resonate with in terms of like introspection and journaling. I really like that. And lastly, Mariah Carey. Whenever I come up with melodies and harmonies, I can hear how Mariah Carey would harmonize with any one of my songs. What is your favorite thing to do outside of music? Good question. I chill at coffee shops and I read or journal. I like to talk and hang out with friends. I love samgyeopsal and eating Korean food. And I actually like to drive. In fact, I attribute a lot of my knowledge of scripture from hours and hours of listening to sermon because I'm stuck in traffic. JS also asks, what is my favorite Bible verse or passage? I do have a few. One person gives freely, yet gains even more. Another withholds unduly, but comes to poverty. I just love the wisdom stuff because it really shows. Stop it! Why is he so noisy? I think it really shows how different God is from how this world typically works. And I really love those verses that challenge human wisdom. Another one, Habakkuk 3:17-19. Knowing God in the context of Isaiah 57 will give me a prayer like Habakkuk 3. In Isaiah 57, you see a God who is high and lofty and exalted above all of the universe, but his heart is towards the contrite and the lowly in spirit. And I love that God is drawn to the people who are just helpless in their own flesh and who just come in humility saying, Lord, I need your help. I can't do this without you. I think that's just a beautiful passage to really tell us who the real Christians are, why the people who get who God really is like have a joyful life, unlike the Pharisees who only know him intellectually. Would you ever perform at a wedding? Yes. So when will you go on tour? Come to Chicago. I say in time. Please pray that God will provide, all the people, resources, finances, and everything. When those things come, I'm gonna go for it. What's your gifting in the fivefold ministry? Well, based on quizzes and even opinions of other people, it's teaching for me. If it's not too personal, what has God been teaching you lately? One thing that God's been teaching me lately is that there are good and healthy kinds of boundaries. And the best kinds of boundaries that you set are the ones where you are taking into consideration what would be best for the spiritual walk of yourself or the people around you. And basically, if setting boundaries is going to help you to not sin, then by all means, set it. For me, I think that the simplicity in that and the limitations give us more freedom, actually, to move. Because we know that by honoring it and respecting it and committing it to God, we don't have to be too careful about if we're breaking any rules or anything like that. That's something that God's been teaching me. And if you want to know more about the stuff that God teaches me on a daily basis, you can subscribe to me on this channel, and I actually post quotes on the community tab. My throat hurts from all the talking. If you have any more questions that you want to ask, feel free to comment them down below so I can answer them in the next one. If you want to get a monthly summary of all the updates, new music, new content, blog posts, articles, and even invitations to the free Zoom events that we hold for open mics and creative challenges, then please sign up for my newsletter at darlabaltazar.com/newsletter. And finally, I also want to announce that I'm trying something new for my newsletter. I want to feature people like you. If you find anything that you think would be helpful for other people, whether it's an article or a podcast, a sermon, a video, or maybe something they'll love, like a song or an album, send it over at hello@darlabaltazar.com with the subject, fan recommendation, call-in, and whatever you're sending. And I'll be featuring it in my newsletter, so don't forget to sign up for that too. But yeah, that's it for a video today. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next time.